This video is going to go through the installation of vector scheduling app on your device and then some of the features and how we're going to utilize them for scheduling. First thing you want to do is go to your app store, search for the vector scheduling app, and then look for the app with the purple icon, and we're going to go ahead and install that. Once it's installed, go ahead and open the app. We're always going to sign in with the Sign In with Target Solutions, the blue button at the bottom here. We're going to click that, and we're going to use our Target Solutions sign in for this. This should be your Villa Park email and whatever password you created for Target Solutions. Once you have your login and password entered, make sure to check the site path here. Click on that, and you're always going to use, for any of the vector products, Villa Park as your site path. All one word, no space, and then we're going to hit go. So as we log in here, you'll see the main home screen. One of the first things we want to do on our very first login is go down to our profile here at the bottom. In this profile is where you can add a picture if you'd like. It gives us some information about ourselves, our login, our username. If you'd like to turn on two-factor authentication, you're welcome to do that. But we need to come down here to the contact information. Contact information, we need to make sure our cell phone number is correct in there, and choose a method for being contacted by the system. For callbacks, which is overtime page outs, if we select the mobile app, there's always going to be a fallback method if it cannot connect through the mobile app. Otherwise, our other choices are text message or a phone call, as you see here, which is just that. Every time something comes out, an automated phone call will call you. If you choose mobile app, like I said, it does ask for a fallback method. Would you like to have a phone call or a text message? We do not use the pager option. We do not have a pager client to use that. Anytime you change any settings, make sure you scroll to the bottom and make sure that you have saved your choices with that. And what it's going to do is register that profile. We can check that by coming up to the gear icon to the top, coming down to My Devices, and check in here. It did not register, so I'm going to click Register, and you'll see down here it says Registered Successfully. If I come back to the gear icon and reselect My Device, that's when it's going to go ahead and populate the information for this particular device. Scheduled alerts, so any type of alert coming from the shift schedule or can be toggled on and off there. Time off alerts, when your time off is approved, you can select that. You can select a tone here if you want something different. The main thing to look for is what is registered. So my iPhone is registered and it was added on this particular date here. If you're having issues with not getting push notifications, you can click this button here to re-register and make sure your device is synced with the server so that you get the push notifications. Once this is complete, you should be able to get push notifications or text messaging of your alerts. If you selected text messaging to get alerts from the system for overtime or notifications, they're going to come from a standard phone number here. This phone number is the same. If it does change, they do notify us. But the nice thing about that is through your options here, you could create a contact and then you could also change some of the default settings. You could have a special tone to that, and you can also turn on emergency bypass up here, which will bypass any of the settings or silence features so that you do get notifications. Once you've done that, you'll see that now it's named Vector, and anytime I get a text message from Vector, it will go ahead and push through my silence options or give me a special ring on that. If this phone number, like I said, if this phone number does change, we will be notified of that and we'll pass that along to everyone. As you can see here, we're logged into the Vector app. We'll go over some of the items here on the screen. Down here, you'll see any action items, anything that you need to take action for. As you see, there's a trade request that was received by me that I need to respond to. Some of the other things up in here, the calendar icon is to view the daily roster. When I click on that, I will see the daily roster. I see the date here. I see the stations listed, who's listed for the station. And then I can also see, as we scroll down here, non-duty assignments, administration, overtime request slots, and also fire inspector spot. And at the bottom would list any individuals who are on time off for the day. I can easily move through this by clicking to the next day using the arrow up here at the top right. I could also jump between shifts by clicking next day, next shift. And as you see here, it populates with the correct shift. If I'm looking for a specific day, if I click the calendar icon here at the top, now opens a menu. I can scroll to another month, or I can select a specific day to take a look at. Anytime I'm in this menu and I want to go back, I hit the stack pile up here at the top and the home key. And what that'll do is it'll take me back to this main menu here. List view is just a different way to look at the daily schedule. What it does is it lists out every individual, their assignment, and what their time frame is. It shows you open slots and other information. Employee off and miscellaneous would populate if there were somebody into those. Again, I can always hit the navigation key up here at the top, or I can go back to the stack to get back. Under the trades, these are shift trades. These are A for B trades, no matter what the time frame. In here, you'll see I have a pending request from Matt Sauter, and then here's the shift that they want to trade. And he put in here a comment of it's a trade shift. Here's where I would accept or deny. If I don't agree with this day, then I could deny it. Otherwise, if I accept, I hit the button here. And what it does is it now sends this on to administration for approval. With trades, we suggest scheduling them, and it's sent off a message to the admin for approval. You'll see it says here it's awaiting admin approval. Once it's approved, it'll come down into the list down here and show you trades that have been completed. If I need to see what's going on with my trade, I can see who sent it, who accepted it, and then the admin approval here. I'm going to go back to the crew, to the main page, and take a look. Time clock we're not using currently. Forms. The two forms that we're using is missed time entry, and you would click the green button here to fill that out, or a comp time request to fill that out. Currently, comp time has an issue calculating, so if you are requesting comp time, we want to do a double safety. So we ask you to fill out a comp time request form, submit that appropriately. That way it's a double check for us as we go through and make sure that the system is working correctly. A missed time entry is thus just that. You forgot to log overtime, putting it into the calendar itself, and you need to be paid for a certain day. We don't want you going back into the history since payroll may have already been run, so that's where the missed time entry form comes in. When you click that form, it's going to give you a bunch of information. I can select who it is from the list, and then as I scroll through, it gives me the times, what the work performed was, do I want pay or comp, and the reason for the time missed. Email the form by simply clicking in this location. This should be sent to the chief or deputy chief as instructed. And then you can have a copy sent to yourself, and then there's a place to sign in here. And when I submit this, an email is sent off as long as all the entries are completed. and the email then the admin it's sent to will approve it and send it on to be paid. It will not be entered necessarily on the date that the missed time is. It'll be entered on the date the request was submitted, so that it gets paid in the correct payroll. Going back here, the comp time request form is much the same. It should be submitted directly to the office admin, Patty. Upcoming shifts, pretty simple. These are all the shifts you're scheduled for into the future. You'll see that any time off is also noted within that area. If I go back to the main menu, time off banks. This is where all my time off is kept. At a glance, I can see I have 1,000 vacation hours, 1,036 sick hours, comp time earned 1,000, and my floating Kelly. If I click the arrow here, it tells me how they're accrued and the max. And it also shows me up here at the top what accrual bank I'm in. I can also see anything that's changed with that. So when those steps increase on my anniversary, that'll show me that change. The sign-up board we are not currently using. Callback board, this is where any overtime would be listed that I am eligible to respond to. They use a term callback for scheduling overtime. It's just a different change in the vernacular that we're going to have to learn. My active callbacks were here. Notifications are any notifications sent out by any of the lieutenants or supervisors looking for additional information to be passed along. And then under employees, I can simply go here. Depending on the level of the employee, you may be able to see certain information. Typically, it's just phone numbers and their email address, depending on what level of access you have. And then we have the profile. So you'll find in the app that there's multiple ways to do things. Sometimes you have to go to the app here under the pancake stack up here to do various things. Up in here in the crew scheduler, you'll be able to get to that crew schedule. The timeline is a daily timeline showing coverage. List view we've already looked at. Sign up board we're not using, and roster map shows you locations of people on an actual Google type map. Callbacks. Callbacks are how we are going to be handling overtime and overtime page out. In this particular menu, when I select callback, I can look at the force hire list and see where I am on the force hire list. I select the mandatory overtime, and as I scroll down, it'll tell me that I am number 17 on the force back list in ranking on this particular date. It'll show my ranking there. It'll also show if I've been forced, when that was, and when it was modified. If I look at ranking lists, we still use a long and short, and we go into the long overtime list. We'll see we have choices from lieutenant and firefighter. If I'm looking for my rankings, I can click either one. It's going to show me both rankings. It's just who's got priority. So firefighters are listed tier 1 in a firefighter. They're allowed to choose overtime for the tier 2 individuals would be. Lieutenant list is just the opposite. Shift supervisor list only allows those who qualify as shift supervisor to be selected, so the lieutenants or the AOs to fill that spot. As I look here, this list is current. It runs and rotates automatically. The only time it does not automatically update is if an overtime is canceled, in which case you'll be moved to your previous spot on the list when the date of that overtime happened. But if you see here, the VPFD training account, is number 14 on the list. So I can easily see my rankings here. If I go back, I can also check the short overtime list. I select the firefighter list, and you'll see here the rankings on the short overtime list, as well as the lieutenant rankings on that list. The information down here at the bottom, the recent changes, is somewhat accurate. It shows that people have been moved, but these position numbers of number 30, number 29, those are system numbers and kind of cause a little bit of confusion. So please ignore those. The main thing is here, like you said, your change here in the lists. You also have an all-call list. This all-call is when we need to call back people for a major event or for putting out information for a parade or some type of other overtime. These lists will rotate. However, they have no bearing on the true overtime rankings. These are simply a placeholder list just to allow the system to be able to process those overtime requests. Also, you have the history button here. The history will show you either by monthly, by user, or your particular history of ones that callbacks that you qualified for, what the information was on them. You'll see these are green and they're filled. There are 2 here that are canceled. If I want to look at these, I can hit the I button, little info button, and here processes all the information. So the callback ID, which is important if you are using the text feature, who initiated it, the time and date of everything, when the callback was initiated, when it's supposed to end, and the date it was filled. And as you scroll through, you'll see all the individuals who are on the list. You'll see if they responded or not. And green is the individual who it was awarded to. If you look over here, that somebody denied the request and somebody accepted the request. The dark grayed out individuals, you'll see their information here. Somebody has time off and somebody is already working. It excludes those individuals from the callback. If you were awarded the callback, you'll be notified by the system. If you responded to the callback as a candidate and did not get it, you will also be notified by the system that you did not receive the callback. If you did not respond, like the majority of these individuals, you will not get any information about the callback. Also, if you denied it, you will not get any information when the callback closes. Now we're going to look at the time off module, select the time off calendar, and start to look at who is off on which day. This is particularly helpful if you're looking to schedule a certain day. You can see which days are occupied and who has time off as you go to schedule. As you scroll through, you'll see the different time off listed in different colors based on the type of time off that they are. Now we're going to go back to the time off menu and select time off request. This is where we'd go to schedule time off. Once we click the request time off and we're into that form, you'll see from here that we have the various types of time off that we are allowed to schedule: sick, vacation, comp, Kelly, floating Kelly. And you'll see your number of hours in your bank. You have 1,036 hours to take for sick time, or vacation time will tell you there's 1,000 hours, and then who the approving admin it goes to. When you select some of these time offs, like sick, you'll see a reason for the time off. If you're calling off sick, the lieutenant or shift supervisor will process that. If you were pre-scheduling time off, you would do that in this area. Or if you're rescheduling a funeral leave day, you would also select that subtype. Once I select that, I come over to this field. I click in the field and I have the day. I need to mark the date of the start of the shift. The time is 7 a.m. Always going to be listed in military time. As you scroll through, you'll see it's listed that way. And then the end shift. So if I'm requesting sick time on the 7th, I need to click end it on the 8th. And you'll notice here I have a length of 24 hours. A note is typically required. And then we click send. This will send it off to the approving admin, and the approving admin, once they approve that, I will get notification that my time off is approved. Once back at the menu, I can go to view my time off. And this will show me the times I have taken off. So I had a Kelly day on 3/2, 3/6, I have trade time, and then 3/6, I also have a sick time. Auctions are reserved for the future for scheduling vacation picks. We will be utilizing those in the future. The bulletin board is where any announcements may be posted. And then there's the trade board. So the trade board is where I request a shift trade. So when scheduling a trade, I need to select the individual I want to trade with and the shift of theirs that I would like. So I'm going to choose March 15th, start a full shift, so 7 a.m. And that's going to end on the 16th at 7 a.m. And then I click I want to swap for another shift, and whatever the agreed upon shift day is, in this case, let's say it's the 22nd, I enter that starting at 7 a.m. and end on the 23rd at 7 a.m. If this was a partial shift and I was ending at 3, the two need to match. Once the shift trade is scheduled, I send the request and it goes out to the admin, or it goes to the individual who requested the trade for. They will respond to it. Once they've responded and they've accepted, then it will go to an admin for approval. If you go back to the main menu, go to trade board, we can view trade requests. In here, we'll see any pending trades like we talked about earlier, and we can also see any trades that have been pre-done and approved or denied. You can also get to the forms from here. I click Access Forms, and you'll see my time off entry and my comp request form as we talked about earlier. So now we're going to see how to respond to a callback using the push notifications through the app. So once the callback is received, I can select the callback notification, push notification, so I get an email. But in here, it'll list the information for the callback. So the start time, the end time, the location, who it was initiated by, and then also the time that it closes. From this screen, I can click accept or decline. Once I make my choice, I can't go back and change that. I can contact a shift supervisor or lieutenant. They can alter that. But once I make my choice, I cannot change my response from the app. So if I click accept, I will be added to the callback as a candidate. And it tells me that I've accepted the callback. If I click view, it just shows me that callback. If I want to come back and see the status of the callback, I select Callbacks, History, and I scroll down here. I see there's an active callback. This is the callback that I responded to. If I hit the info button, I can see that I responded and I am a candidate for this callback, and everybody else is not available or has not responded. Once my callback has been approved, I will also get a notification, as you see here via push, that my callback request was accepted and that I am on the schedule. I also get an email showing that it was successfully completed. I can also go to my crew scheduler on the date of the callback. and see that I have been added to the callback as a lieutenant at Station 82. The other way to receive callbacks is through text notification. So once I receive a text message from Vector, I'm going to click it and open it to respond. The thing I need to be aware of is I need to respond using the number attached to the callback. So in this case, it's 3227915. And then by responding yes, I accept it. By responding no, I deny it. I'm going to accept it at this point, and then I'm going to get a text back that my message was received, and I'm in pending approval for the end of the callback. If I decide I don't want to take it, this is the only time I can try and respond no before the end of the callback if I answered incorrectly. So I'm going to type that number again, and I always have to type this number because it's the actual number of the callback, since we always use the same number and we could have multiple callbacks going on at the same time. So if I change my mind and I type no, I don't get a confirmation, but it will take me off, and I can see that by checking my callbacks here. Selecting the callbacks, selecting history. I can see the active callback going on, click it, and I can see that my status has been changed to denied. Once I've done this, though, I cannot change my mind and go back. The only way to be put back on as an individual candidate for the position is to contact a lieutenant or shift supervisor and be manually added back in. Again, once I respond that I accept it, I will be notified if I did get the position or if I did not. If I attend a class or a meeting or training off duty and I need to schedule my overtime or put in an overtime request, I'm responsible for submitting that. If it is today, I would go to the view roster, scroll down to the overtime request, schedule yourself. When I select that, first I'm going to select the work type, if I want comp or overtime pay. Then I need to select a subtype of what was the event. So if it was a meeting, if it was today starting at 8 a.m., I can leave this alone. I can change this time to 7 a.m. And then my end date is going to be the same day, most likely, and the end of the meeting, let's say it's 11:30. Once I've selected that, it'll see a number here, 4.5 hours. Do not need any labels, but I will add a note here of admin meeting, or whatever it is that I actually did. Now I'm going to click Add Myself, and what it does is it places me on the schedule in this light blue color here, and it says that it's pending request. Once the admin approves it, I will get notification that it has been approved and that I am scheduled to work that. And you'll see that my time has changed here and locked in, that I acknowledge that, and my overtime request has been added. The overtime field, or the overtime slot here, is for group overtime that would be added by a shift supervisor or lieutenant. If it's a large group activity and they decide to enter that versus have you enter individually, they would use that slot. If I forgot to do an overtime on the day that I had the meeting, this is where I would have to navigate over to Forms and select the missed time entry to be able to enter this in the past. I would fill this out as we talked about earlier. Once this is received and approved, it will be added to the crew scheduler in the overtime slot, here on the day that the overtime request was received. So we're going to talk about accessing vector scheduling from a desktop computer. There is one function that we have to do through a desktop that's not available on the app, and that is Kelly trade or time off trades. So we're going to navigate to Vector Solutions, our Target Solutions account, and log in. Once we're in there, we're going to select Vector Scheduling, and it's going to open a new window. And from there, we'll see the setup in Vector Scheduling. Again, same kind of menu format. If I want to look at the crew scheduler, I can click the calendar icon. A lot of this stuff does the same things. If I want to schedule time off requests through here, I can view callback information and such. My time offs also up here at the top at my very top. I can look at the callback board, callback rankings will take me to those places. My time off banks, again, shows me my time off. We're not using personnel file currently, and I can edit my profile and devices in this area. But specifically, we want to show you how to swap time off or specifically trade a Kelly. Because the Kelly days are considered time off, they need to be swapped. They can't use the trade function that's only for actual shift trades. So in here, I'm going to select my time off, request a time off swap, and in this window, it's going to tell me the selecting or the approving admin, but I'm going to select the date that I'm looking to trade. So I'm going to select my Kelly day, which is the 12th. It'll populate here and show me that that's my Kelly day. And then I can choose from a range. If I say from March 1st on through the end of the month, I'm looking to trade that, I can click those two dates in and it populates here a field with all the time off. I can also sort by different times off. So I'm going to select Kelly day, and I am looking to trade my 4/12 Kelly sometime within the month of March. So I'm going to schedule with Blaze Clarendon, request if I've already talked to him, or please help me out. And then I initiate the trade. I got to make sure I select both of these. Then I hit initiate trade, and this is going to go off to Blaze to approve or deny. I can also come back to view my time off swaps, and in here, this will show you the time off that is being requested.